What's going on, YouTube? This is the Chevy Nerd coming at you with Lease 101. I wanted to get together, guys, and kind of let you know a little bit about leasing. I personally lease both my vehicles. It's definitely an awesome way to get into a vehicle, especially if you're looking for a little bit more of an affordable budget, but not taking that full risk of ownership of that vehicle. I'll kind of walk into or talk to you guys about what I mean by that, but I'm here to answer some questions and cover some, common misconceptions. I think nowadays a lot of people misinterpret what leasing's about. And as well as the salesmen honestly don't do the best of jobs when it comes to describing what a lease is all about and how it can benefit you. And that's our fault, but here I am to kind of help you out and give you my perspective on what leasing is and how it can help you and your family. At the same time, how leasing can be something that you can do from here on out. I have a specific idea of how leasing would work best for my family, and I'll kind of cover that goal as well, kind of give you my opinion on leasing, and how I'm going to continue leasing from now on, as well as own a vehicle. But we'll cover that in a little bit later. But I wanted to welcome you to Lease 101 here today with the Chevy. So let's go ahead and talk about leasing here. Let me go ahead and erase this here real quick. So leasing is going to be, once again, a way to purchase a vehicle, drive it, take it home, use it for your day-to-day routine. But what changes with the lease? What is a lease all about? So I'm going to give you guys a quick example here. So let's say that you guys come into our Chevy dealership and you guys want to go ahead and look into maybe a Camaro, or possibly nowadays the most popular segment is going to be the midsize SUV. So a two-row SUV, something like a Chevrolet Equinox. Just to kind of keep numbers simple, let's say that you guys are going to buy a Chevy Equinox, which runs you somewhere, the ballpark price around $30,000. Okay. So with $30,000, you have two options, guys. You have the option of either paying this in cash, okay, or you also have the option of taking out a loan. In both those situations, you have a cash deal or you have a loan. You basically pay 100% of the cost of that car. So when you buy the car, you pay 100%, or you take 100% a loan for that vehicle. Now, typically what a lease does is it changes things up a bit into two different contracts, okay? Leasing saves you quite a bit of money right up front, okay? And it also saves you money on taxes, and we'll cover that here shortly. But looking at a lease, I typically kind of create a little T-chart here, okay? Now, on this side here, you're going to see a lease contract, and on this side here, you're going to see a residual contract. Now, sometimes some of the options within leases change when it comes to what a residual is and what a lease is. Essentially, what this means, the lease is the contract that you guys get into and the portion of the car that you guys pay for. Now, the residual is what's left over to pay for that you guys haven't paid for, and that's where you guys save quite a bit of money. But let's look into it a little bit further. So some contracts can look something like this. Now, not all contracts are like this, so keep this in mind, but this will kind of give you a general view of how leasing can work and how typically leasing gets you a little bit of a lower monthly payment nowadays, okay? So when you guys are doing leasing, you guys sometimes have, for example, maybe a 65% residual, and then over here we have a 35%. Okay. Now these percentages, once you add them all up together, guess what it equals? It equals 100%, just like you would have bought the car in the beginning. But now this is where it gets really cool. Okay. So your lease contract's on this side here, and you're going to be paying about 35% of that vehicle. In this case, being around $13,000. Okay. And the residual amount is going to be right around $17,000. Okay, so if you take both of these numbers up and add them, guess what it equals? It equals that $30,000 that you guys had to begin with. Okay, so add the percentages up, back up to 100%. Now, the cool thing about the leasing option here is that it actually allows you to save the residual. Basically, you're making a commitment for about a 3-year to a 4-year period. Sometimes you can even do a customized lease to 2 years where you pay off this portion and not have to be responsible for the portion on the right-hand side. So, at this point, the initial savings that you guys get when you guys go into your contract is we're not charging you for $17,000 worth of that vehicle. You're driving off a $30,000 vehicle at $13,000. Okay. Now, typically on this, at our dealership, we kind of find a little bit of a sweet spot where a 39-month lease works out for our customers. So a 39-month lease for our customers typically ends up equaling out to $333 a month. Obviously, this is not including taxes and also what we call our money factor. That's basically very similar to what you would have as an interest, because just like any other loan, you would have that in on your lease as well. Okay, so this is just kind of rough numbers to kind of give you an initial idea of how it works. Okay, so that would be there. Typically around a $30,000 car, you typically expect roughly maybe a payment of $500 to maybe $550, somewhere there. Okay, if you do a loan through there, depending on money down, interest, and other things, could be a factor. But you guys can clearly see that the 333 is a lot lower than the 500 to 550. Plus, you also see the difference between going into a 39-month term versus going into something like 60 or 72 months. So it's that longer commitment. Okay, so this allows you to go into a shorter term with the vehicle, which typically keeps you right into that manufacturer's warranty, which helps out a lot, especially if you're switching in a lease every 3 years. You're always covered, you're always protected, which gives you peace of mind that all you have to worry about is just that continuous monthly payment and no big surprises afterwards. So that is one way that the lease ends up working out. Now, the other cool thing about this is a lot of people ask me, well, Joe, how do you say that you save on taxes? Well, you do. In a total, if I recall correctly, 39 states, could be more now. We do have the option of also paying our taxes based on our monthly payment on our lease, which means that if I pay taxes on this vehicle, I'm going to be paying taxes on this amount here, okay, on the $13,000 versus the $30,000 there. So $30,000 versus $13,000 in taxes is also a huge deal. When you buy the car 100%, you pay your taxes right up front. Now, every dealership's a little bit different. At our dealership here, we collect our sales taxes. Other places, you just pay cash for your vehicle. It's whatever the numbers are, and then you pay taxes over at the DMV. We do things a little bit different here. It's per state, so keep that in mind. Okay, so here we have the $13,000 that we're going to get charged taxes on. But what we're going to do is we're going to charge you taxes on a month-to-month basis on the 333. So once you, depending on where you live, it's going to be based on your city taxes, county taxes too. You'll add that amount to this monthly payment, and that will be your monthly payment from now on. Now, if taxes do change in your area, do keep that in mind, as your payment will go down or will go up, depending on that. Okay, but that's typically a small factor, a couple bucks here or there. Okay, now that's a way you can save money, but the initial savings is also not having to commit to the additional $17,000. Okay, now in what other ways can leasing also be a benefit to you? Well, at this point, leasing allows you to get into a vehicle for a total of the 39 months, which allows you to keep the vehicle, typically, depending on the contracts that you have, up to 10,000 miles, okay, a total of 12,000 miles or 15,000 miles per year. Those are some of the common terms there. Obviously, as you increase in your mileage, your payment increases a little bit and it adjusts those percentages. Okay. Now, for a lot of people that say, hey, you know what, Joel, I'm a little bit of a high mileage driver, probably going to be driving, I don't know, total of maybe 60,000 miles in the 3 years. A lot of people worry about that and say, well, maybe leasing's just not for me. Well, here's the thing. If you know you're going to drive that much, what happens to the value of your vehicle? it's going to plummet. It's going to go down, and it's not going to be worth the $17,000 you come back afterwards if they're 3 years and expect it to be $17,000. It's going to be a lot lower than that. So you can actually customize this, and you can go up to the max at our dealership up to 25,000 miles per year. But all you do is you pay your miles up front, and it's typically would cost you around 20 cents per mile. Okay. Now, just in case, you know, some people are like, oh, what if I end up going a little over mileage or anything like that? When you come back here and you're at that point where you're turning in your vehicle, let's say that you've gone over maybe 1,000 miles. Okay, 1,000 miles that you go over. Basically, you'll times that by 0.25. That will be your the cost of miles afterwards if you do come back later. So you can either save 5 cents and pay them up front and have them as your monthly payment, or pay it later. So the advantage here, though, is if you're driving that vehicle very high mileage the entire time, if you do a loan, well, you'll do your loan, but at the time that you're paying that vehicle off, based on how much you're driving, your vehicle's just not going to be worth what the loan is. So at any point, you definitely want to make sure you have gap insurance to kind of cover that difference there, or you'll have to go ahead and check out other options, whether you want to change it into doing something such as trading it in for another vehicle. But then typically the common trap that we see there is negative equity at that point. But we'll talk about that in a different video to help you guys to keep in positive equity the entirety of your loan. That's going to be a very important thing in today's market, as things just tend to always flip around and be upside down in a lot of deals. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So those are some of the advantages that you have there, is you can customize your mileage, okay? You can pay a little bit up front of the 20 cents. These are typical arrangements that are available, and typically this is set up for a 3-year term. You can also expand it to a 4-year term depending on what's available for leasing at that time, okay? So let me kind of erase a couple of these things, okay? Now, typically, let's say that you guys drive your vehicle, okay? You drive your vehicle. What's another advantage here is, one, we saved on taxes. Two, here's what happens with your vehicle. Typically the things that devalue your vehicle is going to be, one, time. Two, you're going to do things such as mileage. 3, condition. Okay, if I misspell something, sorry, I'm human. I'm not the best speller. Time, miles, condition. At the same time, the other thing that can devalue your vehicle is accidents. Okay. Now, accidents are a big one. It's something that you can't predict. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, but when you lease a vehicle and you keep it for that time period of 39 months, your commitment is this portion here, okay? Now, if you come back and let's say that based on time being the factor of what the market is doing, whether the value of your vehicle has plummeted based on either bad sales of that specific style of vehicle, or whether the market has gone up, it could be, the opposite effect. Your value could go up. Here's what can happen is typically, let's say that when you come back after the 3 years, you have to pay the $17,000 if you'd like to keep your vehicle. Or if you'd like to trade it in, you can trade it in. But with the let's say that you guys want to buy the vehicle. The vehicle's going to be $17,000. So you know at the time that you sign your lease contract what you'll have to pay 3 years later down the road. Okay, so $17,000, but let's say that your vehicle, based on time, is only worth a total of, $15,000. Okay, so over time, your vehicle's value has changed to $15,000 based on time. Okay, that's right there, negative $2,000. Now, you tell me at this point, who's responsible for that negative $2,000? Well, it's not you, because your contract's on this side. Your responsibility is just your $13,000. So this is how a lot of people can avoid carrying negative equity on a vehicle that's lost value, that has been driven up to 30,000 miles, 36,000 miles, 45,000 miles, whatever it is that you signed up for. That's the responsibility of the leasing company. That's the agreement that the leasing company made with you, and you are not responsible for that. Okay? So, but what other factors could also happen? The other factor could be, like I mentioned before, miles. Miles could do another hit on your vehicle. That's another negative $1,000. Let's say that you guys run into a deer and you hit a deer. Heck, maybe that's another negative $3,000. Once you top it off by damage, okay, in this case an accident because it's reported on your accident report, you're sitting right on here at almost negative $5,000. Now the cool thing about leasing, it's almost like an insurance policy at this point, because you as an owner, your contract is here, your contract is done and complete. You turn in your vehicle and the negative $5,000 gets eaten up by your leasing company. So the leasing company makes itself responsible for the mileage, the damage that has been done to the vehicle. Obviously at this point, when you do have an accident, you go in, you take it in like any other car, get it repaired through your insurance. You do have to do that. You can't just turn it in, all beat up. So, but that record is still there. There was an accident on this vehicle. It is reported under your Carfax. So that in general devalues that car. So that's one of those things where we have to be careful. Okay? So this allows you to protect yourself and protect the investment that you're making. Now, we all know that vehicles devalue over time. A lot of consumers come in and say, well, Joel, it's one of those things. What happens to that car after 3 years? I spent all this money, I made all these monthly payments, and then I turn it in. Well, not necessarily. You have paid for the time that you've used that vehicle. You've paid the usage of that vehicle. Okay, you paid your $13,000, and you're going to trade it in. Most people trade in their vehicles every 3 years. It's just a common practice. But when they do a full cash deal, okay, also they have what's, I guess in their eyes, what would be a residual is whatever is left on that loan. Okay? But if you just happen to be in that negative equity, once you do a loan, guess who's responsible at that point for that negative equity? You are. And then you get yourself in a position where you're kind of in a hole. Well, it kind of sucks unless you prepped it right and you took out the loan in a smart way, which we'll talk about in a different video. Okay, so that is a great thing about leasing. Okay, one, it's great for a lot of customers that want to use a commuter car for in town or possibly a couple trips. Me and my wife have gone to Vegas a couple times, and we've also gone to Denver back and forth. Obviously, from here to Junction, it's 500 miles back and forth. So right now, we leased our vehicle in 2016, so we have 17,000 miles on our truck, and then on her Envision, 20,000 miles, as she uses a little bit more, and our lease contract's coming up here in October. So, October 2019, so we'll be ready for a new ride at that point. So that's one of the cool things about leasing. Now, here's another cool thing too, is a lot of people get a little... they're like, hey, Joel, why are you recommending leasing to me when I'm paying cash? Well, because there's one option called a one-pay lease. Okay. For a lot of people who are retired, for a lot of people that are no longer working, but they've saved up quite a bit of money, it's very common practice to come in and pay for their vehicles cash and not have that recurring monthly payment. Now, here's the thing, with a one-pay lease, it is an awesome opportunity for you guys to save money and keep money in the bank, okay? Now, let's say that you're, 70 years old, 80 years old, and you're coming in and you just know in your gut, you know what, this is gonna be my last car. We hear that all the time. Leasing is an awesome option for you to do a one-pay lease, and here's why. So let's say that you guys wanted to go ahead and buy a $30,000 vehicle. Okay, you come in and you say, Joel, I want this. Here's my check, $30,000. Okay, my question to you is going to be, how painful was it to write that $30,000 check? I can't do it. That's crazy. $30,000, that's quite a bit of money. So I always ask my customer, so Mr. Customer, I say, how would you like to just pay $13,000 for that and take the car home? They look at me like I'm crazy, but then I say, well, we have our one-pay lease program. So the customer writes a check for the $13,000 plus taxes and fees, okay, and saves himself the total of $17,000. Now, when they come back after that lease period, they can come back and say, you know what, Joel, that car was phenomenal. It was the best car we've ever purchased. We love the car. I think we're going to keep it. Heck, I don't mind if you do. All you have to do is come back and pay the unfinished money that you haven't paid. You paid your $17,000 and you're out the door just the same way that you would have done if you came out the door with $30,000. Now, once you plug in all your figures and numbers, you will see that there's going to be a little bit of an extra expense when it comes to that. But then again, like I mentioned before, it's almost like having an insurance policy once you lease. Because once you lease, you're responsible for this portion. You're not responsible for the devaluation. You're not responsible for any accidents or anything that may occur to that vehicle. So you don't have to worry about those things if you do a lease. Keeps a little bit more money in your bank and it saves you that hassle. So no matter how you look at it, at the end of the day, we buy insurance for our cars, we buy insurance for our home. This is another type of insurance, I would say, but in the vehicle market, protecting the investment that you made, spending the money where you need to spend it to use that vehicle, and adjusting it to your needs. Okay, so that is some of the benefits of leasing. Now, another benefit of leasing that we always get asked about, or that sometimes people don't know about, is, Joel, you know what, I want to build my credit. The credit's, not too bad. It's in the 600, 650, or maybe I'm just starting fresh. You know what? It always works out to always have, even on a lease, a little bit of money down. So let's say that you have $2,000 in money down. Okay, drops down your lease to $11,000, and then your monthly payments are based on that number. But once we get you guys approved, the term is shorter than almost every other car loan. Every other car loan nowadays is going to 72 to 84 months, okay? But when you're in a lease, your term typically is around 36 to 39 months. This allows you to pay that debt back in a shorter term, okay? Jumping and boosting your credit score up when you do a lease. The other cool thing about it too is in the state of Colorado, because it works this way, instead of seeing a debt to income of setting it up onto your credit report of a $30,000 loan, your loan's only going to show at $13,000. That puts you in a little bit more of a financial position where maybe if you're buying a house, maybe if you're taking out a loan for something else, a business or whatever you're doing, that can help you keep your debt to income where it needs to be. So once you go run your credit for something else, they're going to say, oh, there's a loan for $13,000. Oh, you're asking for $80,000, no big deal. You're good to go. But if you did a loan, then you come back, oh, this guy's he's got a loan for $30,000, then he wants $80,000. I mean, if it works, it works. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. So this also protects onto your credit and helps your credit kind of balance things off. You get that high luxury vehicle or a little bit more expensive car, but your credit report isn't affected by it on such a large number. Okay, so that's another benefit of how, one, leasing can definitely increase your credit. It's going to go up, okay, because you have a shorter term and shorter things right on there. Okay, so that's a really cool option when it comes to leasing. Now, my personal opinion is the following, okay, is I lease both my cars, and what I'm going to do a little bit different this time is I'm going to lease a single car, and then I'm going to own a second car. The second car I'm going to own is going to be the car that I have the least miles on. So our baby car, basically the car that we drive and we enjoy as a family and all this and that. And we keep it lower mileage so we can keep it in great condition It's our baby. We love it, and we're going to lease the next car. The next car is going to be used for, back and forth, daily driving, beat it up on the road, go on to our daily, on some of our trips. Now, if we're doing a big vacation where we really want that comfort, then we'll take our other car. But just a daily, back and forth to Denver and stuff like that, we'll probably use the vehicle that we lease because we never get in a position where we can lose a lot of money. So, once we do that, it gives us a budget of having, a lower monthly payment on a lease, but it gives me enough budget to go ahead and make 2 times a payment on the vehicle that I own, making my 72-month loan shorter and increasing the equity that I have versus always making the minimal payments. Because at this point, if I can fast track a little bit, I can pay off a loan, okay, have no loan on this, have low mileage on the vehicle, take care of the vehicle, do its maintenance, and then we can always keep reviewing on every new vehicle with our lease on the other vehicle. This puts us in a position where we can have our car, we can have 2 cars, one that always keeps getting renewed, and the other one that kind of remains with the family for a little bit of a longer time. That's my opinion. That's kind of what I want to do with my options there. We'll talk about in the next video of how down payment is important for you when you come in to buy a car. Because for whatever reason, a lot of people think that car dealerships kind of steal your down payment, or that the down payment's used for the dealership gross. It is not. Down payment, especially here in Colorado, because people pay their taxes when they come in to look at when they come in to buy a vehicle. That's definitely not the case. Your down payment goes for a great purpose, and we'll cover that in a little bit of a different video. Down payment on a lease, though, works up a little bit different. Down payment basically buys down your payment because your contract is always here, so you'll always have your numbers there. So any down payment that you would do here, let's say you do a down payment of $3,000, it doesn't affect the residual, it just affects your lease contract, which in turn definitely drastically lowers your monthly payment. So that's why I say the sweet spot's right around $3,000, or unless you're going to do the one-pay lease. I hope this video was pretty instructional for you guys. I kind of helped you out to look at the differences. Quick review, $30,000, buying cash or taking a loan, you pay 100%. Leasing, what does it do? It gives you the benefits of only paying for a portion of the vehicle. As you see, 35% saving $17,000. Kind of works out really well. You save on taxes. So you save on taxes, okay. It's a shorter term. Okay, which means it increases your credit. Okay. Let's see here. Your debt to income is also not affected as much. The other thing, you're always under warranty. Chevrolet provides the first services for your vehicle on a lease as well. The other thing too is it's an insurance policy. Why? Because you're not responsible for the aftermath. You're not responsible for a possible negative equity situation based on accidents, based on miles, okay, based on time. You're not responsible for those. The leasing company is. So that's another cool thing there. So that's a quick short review there of why leasing could be a great option for you. Do I believe it's the only way to buy a car? Not at all. But it's a smart way to do something in getting into a new vehicle. Check it out. Give it a try. If you have any questions, please give me a call, 970-623-5800. 5683. That's my cell phone. You can shoot me a text, give me a call there. At the same time, do me a big favor. If you guys found this video informative, I know it's long, please hit that like button at the bottom. Hit the subscribe bell to kind of get into the subscription services on there. And if you guys have any questions, just feel free to holler. If you're enjoying the content that's there, please hit that subscribe. It helps out a lot. Share the video with your friends and family. If they're looking at buying a car and they don't know what a lease is about, and the salesman brought it up and the salesman's clueless, take a look at this video. We'll continue to make more videos on this too, just to kind of educate you a little bit more on leasing and loans, and we'll go from there. But this is the Chevy Nerd. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you guys later. Bye.